going to be teaching you guys another skill for note-taking, and this is color coding. So you might use color coding if you are taking notes on an article or a book that you own that you can write in. And what you're doing for color coding is basically thinking about what kind of information your reading material is going to give you, and you're dividing that information into categories. And then when you read through your text, you're going to highlight any bit of information that's important that corresponds to one of your categories. So in this case, we're reading an article about the Cold War for our history class, and we know that we're going to learn about different actions taken by the US, actions taken by the USA, proxy wars, which are wars fought in other countries but that are still between the US and the USSR, some key figures, and meetings between the two great powers. And we might need to review this information later on for maybe a test or an essay or a quiz, so it can be really handy to have this color coding so we can find that information very quickly. So the first thing you want to do is just read through your article, and as you see information that corresponds to one of these categories in your key, you're going to highlight it in the right color. And you want to do that for the entire paper for all of the categories that you find. And one thing that's very, very, very important to remember as you do this is that you need to have a key somewhere where you're not going to lose it. It helps to put it on your paper, but in this case we didn't have enough room, so we put it on a separate piece of paper, which we're later going to attach to this piece of paper, because there's no point in color coding if you can't go back later and understand what your colors mean. So as you can see, this example, Lizzie has highlighted a line down by where her hand is in yellow, because that's information about a meeting between the US and the USSR. She's continuing to highlight the information as she finds it throughout this article. She also highlighted some information about Roosevelt and Harry Truman, which is important if you want to look at key figures during the Cold War and how all of that changed, because that's very important too in discussions we might have later on in class. Actions by the USSA, she's highlighting here when the US drops atomic bombs on Japan. So you're basically going to continue using this process as you read your article. And you don't have to go through one category at a time and find actions by the USSR, go through the article and highlight those, and then find actions by the USA and go through the article and highlight those. So you do this as you read. And once you're finished, you should have a nicely coded paper that'll be really, really easy for you to reference later on for whatever you might need to do. And for this, you can also use highlighters, markers, or pens. You don't always have to cover the text completely. You can just do some underlining. If you want to, you can circle. And it's all about what works best for you and what's going to be easiest for you to see. Thanks for watching.